Hi again, welcome back. In today's video, we're going to explore the answer to the question, what causes mental health issue in athletes? We're going to look at both the psychological factors that go into the mental health of an athlete as well as the biological factors. So stay tuned for that. First part of this video, we're going to look at negative thinking and what's going on inside your brain as you are thinking negatively, what that means and what that looks like. We'll talk specifically about rumination, which is the verbal aspect of negative thinking. Then we're going to look at brain chemistry and what's going on biochemically within your body. Fourth, we're going to take a look at how external pressures play into all of this. And of course, last, we're going to look at how it played out in a real life example. One of the recurring themes across all these videos I do on anything mindset related is this importance of belief. So when you have beliefs that are putting caps on you or limits on you or negative labels on you, that sets up a negative thinking pattern. Usually you have internal strategies that go along with this that create visual images, and you begin to see what can go wrong. You see the cup is half empty instead of half full. You see what might not happen instead of what could happen. So they're all kind of rooted together in this negative thinking patterns. And of course, that negative thinking has dramatic impacts on your mental health and your ability to perform and all of those things. There's the law of attraction and self-fulfilling prophecy where you get what you dwell on, right? So at the core, it's about these beliefs and these labels and the strategies that you're operating in your brain that you need to interrupt so that you can begin to train yourself to think positively and see things in a different, more positive light. So one of the things that begins to happen, and all of us do this to varying degrees, but when you begin to think negatively, one of the more powerful things that happens is rumination, where you're saying to yourself repeatedly and over negative comments about yourself, or thinking about something that just happened to you that wasn't positive, and you're just dwelling on that, and it's usually internal dialogue. By kind of definition, that's what rumination is, as you are just saying over and over, you're having this conversation with yourself that's in a negative, and you're saying negative things about yourself. And rumination is really a very bad pattern to be in. In fact, there's some old data that I believe has been updated. It used to be that for every 3 negatives, you had to say a positive. And I believe the most recent data is showing that it's more like for every negative you say to yourself or hear, you've got to have 5 positives. So when you are ruminating and you're doing all this negative self-talk, to counteract what that has done, you've got to ruminate, for lack of better words, on the positive 5 times as much. All right, so rumination is something that we have to become aware of so we can interrupt and stop that pattern and put forth a new positive, better pattern of positive self-talk instead of this ruminating on the things that went wrong or didn't go your way or all these things you might say about yourself. One thing we know about our thinking is that our body creates chemicals based on what we are thinking, based on different emotions that we have. So serotonin is a chemical that's produced that is linked, lower levels of it is linked to depression. And oftentimes that is at lower levels in athletes, and our thinking processes impact the production of that chemical. Dopamine is another one, and that's associated with motivation, right? So an imbalance in the amount of dopamine that's being produced will impact how motivated you are. And that can be motivated not just, excelling and all, but just to deal with your day. Okay, like when that's really out of whack, never mind being motivated to perform at a higher level and do the work you need to do to get better, just to face your day can be a struggle. Cortisol is another chemical that is related to stress. So when you're feeling stress and you're thinking about negative things that by definition really is creating stress in your body, and the cortisol levels get all out of whack. And when cortisol is out of whack, that has a negative impact on your functioning systems within your body. And all these chemicals, when they're out of balance and too low, too high, that sort of thing, your systems within your body are not working optimally, which affects your health and your well-being, let alone your ability to perform athletically or in any other profession that you might be pursuing. So the negative thinking that you do tends to throw out these chemicals out of balance, right? So thinking positively produces positive chemicals, thinking negatively produces negative chemicals. So again, for athletes in particular, because athletes are very often put in the limelight. In other videos we've talked about media pressure and all that. And the more, this is even beginning at high school level, right? The more you get in the spotlight, the more you become the person on the athletic team, athletic arena, the more attention is drawn to you, the more stress that puts on you, the more pressure to succeed. So one of the things that comes with athletics in our culture, even beginning at young ages, as we've seen in some of the other videos, is the media scrutiny and the societal pressure to perform and excel. And the better you are, the more that attention and pressure comes. And the higher you go up in levels, and the more media attention is thrown on you as you do better and better. That all leads to criticism. It opens yourself up to being constantly analyzed and second-guessed, and all this attention, if you begin paying attention to it, and sometimes it's really hard, if not impossible, not to pay attention to it. But when you begin to let that impact how you are thinking, rumination, that negative self-talk that can come about, the constant questioning of yourself, that, as we've already shown and talked about, impacts the biochemistry, impacts the overall well-being of your health systems, of your body systems, your ability to perform. And it becomes this whole negative cycle, right? So the more attention that's thrown your way, the more you open yourself up to that negative thinking and the negative criticisms and the personal attacks and all these things. And the more that happens, the more susceptible you become to negative thinking patterns. Your beliefs can come under attack. All those things are dramatically impacted by the social pressures and media attention and family pressures and all these things that begin to be thrust upon you. For a real life example, we're going to talk about Mark Spitz, who was one of the greatest swimmers of all time. He won 7 gold medals back in 1972, and he reached the peak of swimming at that time, and he became a legend. And he had real challenges. Later on in his life, he started opening up more about the challenges he had with depression in particular, as he went from that spotlight and went from that media attention and that reaching that heights and that peak with all those gold medals, and trying to balance all that out. Depression and anxiety, but more depression, impacted his everyday living. It impacted his relationships. It impacted his ability to perform. He was known for that one Olympics in 1972, and he never really reached those peaks again, in large part, that bar had been set so high, and his ability or challenge in trying to maintain that proved to be a daunting task mentally, if nothing else. We invite you to subscribe to our channel, check out all our other videos. In particular, you might want to check out the video, How Does Competition Affect an Athlete's Mental Health? So check that video out today, and I'll see you in the next one.